Frieza jumped away from his unexpected opponent, glaring as Goku straightened up, waiting for another attack. Goku realized something. You don't even know who I am, do you? You don't recognize me. Nothing comes to mind, Frieza replied offhandedly. He really didn't have time for this, but he was curious that a warrior so powerful who wasn't of his race could exist. Well, he'd still be done with this in short order, even if it did require him to transform. Goku frowned. Well, I'm the son of a Saiyan you killed. His name was Bardock. Not that you'd care.
A Saiyan, eh?
Frieza nodded.
Well, it makes sense you'd be powerful, but so much. It'd be a shame to destroy that. Why don't you work for me? Vegeta, Ginyu, they can be replaced, especially by one as capable as you. Otherwise, I hope you know a good funeral director.
No thanks. Goku prepared for battle. I'm happy as I am. There's nothing someone like you can offer me.
Very well.
Frieza raised a hand, almost instantaneously firing a bright purple energy beam from his index finger. However, Goku sidestepped, the blast hissing harmlessly past his head. Nice try, he said. So you're just going to keep doing that, or are we actually going to fight? Frieza sighed.
You Saiyans, all you want to do is fight.
Raditz, Tien, Yamcha, Gohan, Zarbon, and Nail stood on a rocky outcrop half a mile away, watching the godlike beings face off. So, you're clear on the plan? Raditz asked. Tien nodded. If Goku goes down, you and I charge Frieza while the others provide covering fire. Altogether, we might have a chance, but we'll at the very least buy Goku time to recover. Good. Remember it well. Raditz stared straight ahead. I hope Vegeta is right. That Kakarot is the Super Saiyan. If he can defeat Frieza, we can finally be free. Not just us. The whole galaxy. Raditz shook with anticipation. Come on, little brother. It's all down to you now.
I suppose you're here out of some sort of misplaced sense of revenge,
Frieza said with an arrogant smile.
You won't achieve anything. I'm the most feared being in the universe, you know. And with good reason.
I don't care who you are! Goku shouted back, leaping forwards at Frieza. You're just another obstacle to overcome! Here! Frieza spun away, and Goku's first punch swung on empty air. The Frost Demon struck back, and Goku batted his arm away, jumping into the air and swinging a kick at Frieza's head. Frieza leapt out of the way, rebounding off the ground behind him and springing back at his Saiyan nemesis. He spread his hands and fired a small energy beam out of each finger as he advanced, and Goku twisted and spun in the air to avoid all 10. One beam grazed his shoulder, and he grunted in pain, just as Frieza took advantage of the distraction, appearing in midair behind Goku. Frieza kicked him in the stomach, slipping past his defenses and catapulting him into the water below. Frieza looked left and right, narrowing his eyes.
Where are you, monkey?
Yeah! An orange and black blur shot up towards Frieza, swinging both arms at him. Frieza dodged away, touching down on the mesa behind him. Goku hung in the air, dripping wet and a little scratched up, but relatively unharmed. Whoa, he said to himself. This guy's really something. Even after my training at 100 times gravity, he's matching my every move.
Damn him,
Frieza thought.
How did a Saiyan become my equal? Well, my first form's equal, but nevertheless, it is a disturbing thought. I suppose I was right to wipe them out. Vegeta will have to be next, if he is still alive.
10 silent seconds passed. And then, without warning, Frieza waved a hand and the air around Goku exploded. The sudden, violent detonation of ki shook the ground for miles around, forming a huge cloud of smoke. Chunks of rock tumbled to the ground, thrown up by the shockwave. The smoke cleared, revealing Goku, his clothes a little tattered. A shimmering protective bubble of energy formed around him. He breathed out slowly, lowering his arms from in front of his face. Not bad! Then, he rushed at Frieza. Just as he reached his enemy, Frieza lashed out with his tail, but it cut through an afterimage. Goku appeared behind a shocked Frieza and punched him clean through a nearby mountain. The mountain crumbled and collapsed, and Frieza climbed to his feet. His skin was marked with dirt, but he didn't appear hurt at all.
Huh. That was clever. It won't save you, of course.
Goku appeared behind him again, but this time, Frieza was ready. Goku threw a quick punch, but Frieza blocked with his forearm, reaching out with his mind and grabbing hold of the rubble around the two fighters. Rocks and boulders rose from the ground, launching themselves at Goku. The Saiyan hero jumped and flipped away, dodging and ducking the onslaught of flying rock. Psychic power too? Man, Frieza's full of surprises! He somersaulted over a boulder, punched another into fragments, and formed a wall with his ki, smashing the rest into dust as they flew at him. You done? He called to Frieza, who grinned.
So, you don't like my telekinesis?
He flew over, landing about 100 meters away from Goku, perched on a small cliff.
Then maybe we should fight the old-fashioned way, if that makes you more comfortable.
That sure is generous of you, Goku replied, bracing himself as he looked up at his powerful opponent.
Oh yes, I'm really a nice guy, just misunderstood.
He held up his right hand.
I know. I won't use this hand to fight you, only my left. Now how about that for a deal?
Go ahead, it's your choice. Goku stretched his muscles, warming up. If you want to hold yourself back, I won't stop you.
Very well.
Frieza held his right hand behind his back.
If I used both, it would seem like I actually had to try to beat you.
Do what you want! Let's go! Goku charged, his aura pulsing to life in bright white flares of energy. He threw the first punch, but Frieza retreated, avoiding it, and struck back with his left hand. Goku ducked under it, sweeping under Frieza's legs to try and trip him up. But Frieza jumped over his attack, kicking off of Goku's face with both feet. Goku fell back, pain rushing to his face, but he pushed his ki to the maximum. Riding himself. Rushing back into the fight, he feinted low and Frieza fell for it. Grabbing Frieza's head in both hands, Goku rammed his knee into the tyrant's face. Frieza hissed, his own blue aura flaring up as he thrashed around blindly. Goku jumped back to avoid his flailing opponent. Frieza soon returned to his senses and the battle. They traded blows with rapid precision. Frieza, now using both hands, having perhaps a slight edge in sheer power and speed, Goku in technique and skill. Eventually, Frieza messed up a block and Goku's fist hit home, driving into Frieza's stomach. Frieza gasped but quickly countered, knocking Goku to the ground with a sweep of his tail. Goku grimaced as he rolled away from Frieza's follow-up. He wasn't used to fighting enemies with tails they could use in battle. He'd occasionally done the same thing when he was a child, but he could see Frieza's tail was far stronger and more useful. He sprung to his feet, and Frieza overbalanced trying to hit him. Goku landed behind Frieza, landing a kick to the small of Frieza's back. He tried to follow up, but Frieza yelled in rage, his aura exploding outwards and bowling Goku over. They stood facing each other again, Frieza glaring in disbelief at how long this bloody monkey was taking to die, and Goku amazed and excited he'd found such a challenging opponent. However, Frieza suddenly calmed down.
Well, I see I shall have to get serious. And you?
Huh? Goku knew this couldn't bode well, but I was already going all out.
Well then, Frieza chuckled as he spoke. I guess you're about to learn why I am feared throughout the galaxy. And you are not.
An eerie light began to emanate outwards from Frieza. His body shook with power as cracks began to appear in his armor.
Yeah.
His whole armored top shattered and his muscles bulged outwards. But he wasn't done yet. His limbs began to thicken, and the bluish light that cracked up and down his changing form became red. Frieza's cry intensified as he tried to achieve total concentration on his transformation. He shot upwards, his height doubling, tripling, and still increasing as he bulked up, each limb the size of his previous form's whole body. His horns curved upwards like those of a bull. The red light gave one final angry pulse, and faded. Goku stared up at Frieza's towering second form, shivering as he realized the task that lay ahead of him. Anyone can see that he's gotten physically stronger, but his ki's increased too, maybe doubled.
Well, monkey, how do you like me now?
Frieza asked, giving a mocking bow. Goku breathed heavily. Come on, Goku, don't give up. This isn't impossible. It's just a challenge. Like I said. Yeah, a challenge. took a step forward, but Frieza moved faster than he could follow, instantly appearing in front of Goku and kicking him into the air. Goku recovered, spinning to face Frieza, but the monster was gone, now in the air behind him. And as Goku tried to react, Frieza hammered him to the ground with both fists. Goku struggled to push himself up. I can't keep up, and the force of these blows. Frieza landed hard on his back, driving Goku into the ground with his feet. Frieza hopped away, standing a couple of feet from his downed opponent. Goku gasped for air, pulling himself to a crouch, then jumped up and away. Frieza followed him with his eyes.
What will he try? What will he try now?
Kamehameha! Goku let fly his charged energy beam, Frieza standing straight in its path, not bothering to dodge. And at the last moment, he swung both hands, knocking the beam out of its path and launching it into the atmosphere. Frieza smiled slowly.
Well now, don't tell me that was your best. Come on.
I can't give up, Goku told himself, charging again. Vegeta was right. I have to be the Super Saiyan. I have to be Frieza! Frieza dodged his lunge with ease, knocking Goku away with his tail.
Super Saiyan? Have you been listening to Vegeta's stories? There is no such thing.
He inclined his head slightly, looking down at Goku, who was picking himself up again.
You see, the difference between us, Frieza said, is that you achieve a power level of about 500,000, and are so impressed you decide it's the fulfillment of some ancient prophecy. I, possessing the same power in my first form, merely think, why does this body have to be so weak? This form, you might be interested in hearing, has a measured power level of over 1,000,000. So have fun.
He spread his arms.
You haven't given up yet, have you?
Yeah! Goku hurled himself back into the fray.
I guess not,
Frieza added. He took Goku's next punch directly to his face without flinching.
But you should at least consider it. This is getting old.
He spun around in the air, delivering a roundhouse kick to Goku's side that made him cry out as he tumbled away again. Frieza pursued him, knocking him further up into the air and then back down to the ground in a cloud of dust. Goku rolled over onto his back, struggling to stay conscious.
Eh?
Frieza raised an eyebrow.
Still not dead? I'm impressed.
Alright, stick to the plan. Raditz lowered himself into a combat stance. Attack on my daddy! Signal? Raditz finished in confusion as Gohan rocketed past him. Gohan! Come back! Don't attack on your own! Gohan came from behind, taking Frieza completely by surprise as his foot buried itself in Frieza's face, throwing him backwards. Gohan carried on madly attacking, hitting home a continued series of powerful blows, and shoving an energy ball into Frieza's chest and blasting him into the ground. Gohan raced down towards Frieza, trying to keep attacking, but Frieza finally reacted, grabbing Gohan's head in one hand and hurling him away. Gohan bumped and skidded painfully along the ground as Frieza stood, dusting himself off.
Where did that child come from?
He asked himself.
And how was he so powerful for that brief moment?
He advanced on Gohan, raising a hand to cut him in two.
Ah well, I'll just kill him. Then I won't have to worry about it anymore.
Hold it! Raditz and Tien flew at him, Tien pushing the Kaioken attack all the way up to the 5 times increase. Frieza saw the attack coming this time, and turned to face them, grinning. He decided he didn't like the look of Tien's burning red ore, so he launched a quick energy beam that took Tien out of the sky. But Raditz carried on his charge. Frieza recognized the attacker.
Raditz? What are you doing?
We're not your slaves anymore, Frieza! Raditz punched, kicked, punched again, but hit nothing. Despite his size, Frieza's speed was unbelievable. Raditz kept attacking without hitting, and then Frieza vanished. He appeared behind Raditz and was about to counterattack when an energy beam struck his back. It caused more irritation than damage. He turned to see Yamcha, Nail, and Zarbon standing behind him, preparing to fire.
Zarbon too? I'm surrounded by traitors today!
They all launched their attacks, but this time, Frieza anticipated them, dodging past them all. He landed in front of the small group. With a casual motion, took Yamcha's head off with one hand. He tossed the dead fighter aside and turned back to Raditz.
Well, still feeling confident?
He prepared to fire an energy blast at the rebel Saiyan when Tien rose from the ground, flaring up his aura. Frieza! That was one of my best friends you just killed! Tien narrowed his eyes. You won't get away with it!
I think I will, actually.
Frieza waved a hand dismissively.
You're certainly not in a position to stop me.
We'll see about that! Tien's ki skyrocketed. Yeah! Kaioken times 10! The explosion of power flattened the ground around him, sending tidal waves rushing outwards from him. Frieza! He charged up at the demonic ruler, his fist crashing into Frieza's face. They hung there for a second. It seemed that Tien might stand a chance. But then Frieza straightened up, his head pushing Tien's fists back. Frieza scowled.
Well, you're almost as strong as that Saiyan who took on my first form. If it was any other day, I might play with you a little, but I'm expecting my brother to get here soon, so...
He batted Tien away, but the world's strongest human stopped his flight with an effort, summoning up all his energy. I won't lose! Tri-beam! The burst of yellow light enveloped Frieza, and Tien kept pushing, pouring all his power into the attack. Then a point of purple light appeared amid the yellow, and expanded as Frieza pushed his ki out in all directions, shattering Tien's attack and emerging unscathed. He rushed at Tien, just as the warrior's Kaioken aura faded, began to beat him, bloody, fists, feet, and tail raining down on Tien's unprotected body. After only 5 seconds of this, Tien fell to the ground, blacking out. Frieza surveyed the battlefield.
Well, no more challenges. Then it's time to clean up.
Once again, he vanished. Raditz, Nail, and Zarbon, the fighters still standing, glanced around nervously. I can feel his energy somewhere, Nail muttered, but he's moving too fast for me to pinpoint it. I knew this was a bad idea, going against Frieza. Zarbon scowled. I let myself be tempted, and now he's going to kill us all! Well, Raditz began, but he was interrupted as Frieza appeared in the air next to him, stabbing right through the Saiyan's body with his right horn. Frieza laughed as blood gushed from the wound, and Raditz screamed hoarsely, struggling to free himself from the impalement.
Oops, how clumsy of me. I guess I don't know my own strength.
Frieza shook left and right, his horn twisting in Raditz's stomach, piercing organs and cracking bones. His angled head sliding Raditz off and dropping his shaking form to the ground.
Now do you see? I am the strongest in the universe! There is no being that can match mine!
A purple and white blur soared past, slamming into Frieza and carrying him off into the distance. Nail's eyes widened. What was that? Cooler! Zarbon realized. Frieza's brother. He had to get here eventually. He looked around at their dead and injured companions, of which Gohan and Tien were picking themselves up. We need to treat the injured, Tien said, and fast. Do you have any senzu beans on your ship, Goku? Sorry, Goku half sat up. There were barely enough to get us through our training. I don't think Korin's used to having to provide for 2 battle-hungry Saiyans. Damn, Tien looked around. Well, any bright ideas, guys? I think I know, Nail replied. The Namekian child your friend saved. He was staying with Guru, and he had his power unlocked too. And it wasn't battle ability like your friend's. He gained healing powers. Convenient. Tien considered this. It'll be hard bringing everyone over there. So can you go and get him and bring him here? Meanwhile, I'll go pick up Bulma. She's been on her own for a while, and probably wants to know what's going on.
Well, it's been a long time, brother,
Frieza was saying as he began to transform into his third form. Spikes erupted from his back. His shoulder blades shot out to the side, and his head extending backwards. His brother Cooler was already in the 4th and final form of their race, smaller than the 2nd and 3rd, sleek, and almost metallic looking. It has, Cooler said. So, who were you fighting just now?
Oh, assorted renegades and pests, Frieza shrugged. They killed all my soldiers, you know.
It must have been them that wiped out my armor squadron too, then. Cooler stroked his chin. I mean,
It couldn't possibly been your little rabble of an army. Cute. Now, just one moment. Frieza began his final transformation. Yeah!
His third form shattered and an explosion rocked the planet as his true form was revealed beneath it. Frieza was mainly white, with touches of purple, whereas Cooler's natural colors were the opposite.
It was awfully generous of you to let me transform, Cooler. If I'm going to prove my superiority over you, baby brother, it's going to be over you at full power. I will have proved to myself that I've truly overcome you. A mistake you'll soon regret.
Frieza prepared himself, raising his guard.
Remember our last battle? Things are different now.
Cooler settled into a ready stance.
Do you know, the phrase winner takes all could have been invented for this moment. Immortality, control over the entire galaxy, and the added bonus of wiping out the little group of pests that killed our troops.
Let's go! The brothers clashed, their battle rocking the planet. This chapter was very fun to write, so I hope you enjoy reading it. Two things, by the way. First, okay, the what if is from Raging Blast. You can stop telling me. Thanks for clearing it up, though. I got so many reviews telling me that, so you guys are all very helpful. And second, looking back at Chapter 15, I would have liked for Niez to use some of his special abilities before he died. Well, maybe he was going to, but got beaten before he had a chance. Power levels. Yay. Goku, 500,000. Frieza, 530. Frieza second form, 1 million. Frieza third form, 2 million. Frieza fourth form, 100 million. Cooler, 80 million. 80 million. And no, that isn't the full power for either of them. They've only just begun to fight. That's the power they can comfortably exert in their true form. Fourth. Raditz, 150,000. Zarbon, 23 and 30. Gohan, mystery. Yamcha, 10,000. Tien, 40,000 with Kaioken times 10 for 100,000. Nail, 42,000. I wonder how you're going to implement Piccolo's role into the story. After all, he's incredibly weak compared to the others. He doesn't have the emotional bond with Gohan that made him an interesting character in Z. Also, he doesn't play much of a role in canon beyond the Android saga. His last role as the main character was against Android 17, who I highly doubt he can reach in terms of power. Let's just say he'll have a role in that. Great chapter. I do have a question though. Do you plan on keeping Zarbon with the Z Fighters for future battles? I think it would be rather interesting. I mean, if you plan on going on to Cell and whatnot and adding the transformation ability or something. I haven't actually decided yet. The fight scene was very well laid out and serious. Good work. Now I have to wonder here about what Piccolo's been doing in HFIL. Meeting Bardock? Making deals with Bibidi? Finding out how the hell King Yemma was able to get a TV that big in the Buu Saga? All these answers and more will be revealed in the next few times on Dragon Ball Z. We will get a little information on Piccolo's doings in Hell at some point. Organizing cake sales? Playing children's card games? Working on his Australian accent? Find out next time on Dragon... Hey, you stole my joke! My bad, it's definitely Raging Blast. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see what happens once Frieza goes to his second form and curb stomps Goku. I'm guessing at that point, Cooler shows up and the two confront each other while Goku receives his Zenkai. I have to answer your question. It's called this chapter. I thought that Vegeta would turn against Frieza right away like he did in canon. What made him realize this was a stupid idea? And did he really know about Ginyu's body swap, or was he just lucky, and maybe assumed Ginyu had a strong mouth beam? First question, he was waiting until Frieza had the Dragon Balls. With his vastly increased power, he thought he might actually be able to fight Frieza directly, so he was making sure he chose the right moment. Second, Vegeta thought, son, that is some weird-ass Kiyama sense, and going to kill you now. That is totally word for word, exactly what his thoughts were. Really. I could be wrong, but wasn't Gohan's canon unlock potential only over 9,000? Shouldn't it be weaker since he didn't train with Piccolo? Gohan's unlock potential was 14,000. He's been trained by Goku and Raditz, so I didn't put him any lower. Also, you know, he gets angry, and boom. So, Piccolo stays a bad guy. Well, you can't have all character development, and hell probably is not the right place to get that. Well, you can't all have character development, and hell probably is not the right place for that. Maybe you'll train with the people that died recently. Nappa? Dodoria? Ginyu? Oh, he can have character development, just not necessarily the heroic kind. Will you continue to post power levels after the Frieza saga? Because by that point you'll have to go really far to please all the PL freaks out there. Sort of hypocritical from a guy who complained about Gohan's PL, ain't it? Probably not. Could the Dragon Balls grant a wish for infinite senzu beans? That'd be close to actual immortality. Think about this, then. Vegeta, with a power level of 200,000, wishes for infinite senzu beans and goes to fight Frieza, power level in the many millions. He gets beaten up and goes to eat one of his infinite senzus. Frieza thinks, "Ooh, that looks important, I better stop it," and kills Vegeta. If you're fighting a vastly superior opponent, it's not like immortality at all. However, it is an interesting idea. Stay tuned for Chapter 17. Things are picking up with Cooler's arrival on Namek. How will the rest of the Z fighters react once the squabble between Cooler and Frieza is resolved? And who will they be fighting? Find out next time on Break Through the Limit, which is within a few seconds in the video. Moving on. The awe-inspiring battle between Frieza and Cooler took a brief pause. The combatants alighted on cliff faces opposite each other, fighting for breath. "Careful, brother of mine," Cooler warned his younger sibling. "You're causing considerable damage to the planet. If you destroy the Dragon Balls, neither of us gets immortality." "That's hardly your concern anymore," Frieza smiled slightly. "I think we both know who's going to come out on top." Cooler was considerably more damaged and battle-worn than Frieza, although the younger Frost Demon was far from unscathed himself. "You think so?" Cooler straightened up, stretching his legs. "I think you'll find I have a few surprises in store for you. I've learned to keep things close to my chest. As the weaker child, Father always ignored me when you were around." "Well, without strength, what are you?" Frieza replied. "How can you expect to be an efficient leader without the power to keep your subjects in check? And power is what I have. More than you know." "What's this?" Cooler raised an eyebrow. "Been holding back, Frieza? How very like you." "Something like that." Frieza hunched over slightly, his previous thin body bulking out as his muscles bunched and multiplied under his skin. His cold blue aura burst into life. "Prepare to face the mighty Frieza at full power!" he declared. Cooler was visibly taken aback, fear evident on his face. Frieza's aura grew, engulfing the land around him and grinding rock into dust. Small sparks of energy flew off in random directions, detonating on contact with ground or water. Any that happened to fly in Cooler's direction, he ignored, being powerful enough to simply shrug off the minor explosions. Frieza hissed, gritting his teeth to avoid screaming, as his power rocked his body, pouring out in a wave of force and flattening the surrounding area. Steam rose from his back, lifting into the sky and blocking out the sunlight. The ground shook, and arcs of electricity enveloped Frieza's body. A burst of white light signaled he was fully powered up. Frieza stretched his limbs a little. His muscular state at 100% was always difficult to get used to. Then, he turned to Cooler and grinned. "Well, how do you like me now? I was already above you, but now there's just no contest!" To Frieza's surprise, his brother was laughing. "That's excellent! You had me worried for a second there." A strange glint appeared in Cooler's eyes. "Is that all?" "What?" Frieza glared at Cooler, uncomprehending. "Well," the elder explained, "remember when I said I had a few surprises? For a minute there, you had me thinking you were about to do this." Chunks of rock broke off from the ground and levitated around Cooler as he began his transformation. This wasn't a slow release of stored power like Frieza. He was tapping a sudden flood of energy which simply hadn't been there before. Cooler's shoulders sprouted armor plates, and he grew several feet taller in an instant. He thickened out to match his new height, but his muscles were toned and proportionate, not bulging and unnatural like Frieza's 100% state. A spiked crest jutted out from the top of his head, and his voice deepened to a guttural growl. He continued to grow, more bony spikes emerging from his forearms, his teeth lengthened into fangs. And then an armored mask slid over his face, leaving his now glowing red eyes, the only exposed part of his head under all the armor plating. So, what do you think, Frieza? Cooler now dwarfed his brother, towering above the other galactic ruler. The transformation had also healed all his previous wounds from the battle with Frieza.
What? How?
Frieza tried to form coherent words, and failed. It's a fifth form I unlocked. Unlike you, I actually had someone I could aspire to beat. Our father is too far above us, and nobody else in the universe can possibly challenge our kind. But you were an achievable goal to overcome. And that desire to become stronger fueled my transformation.
There are forms above our true, original form?
Frieza thought.
But I'm far superior to Cooler. I should have been the one to discover it.
He mused before returning his attention to Cooler.
Well, what of it? I'm still more naturally talented. Transform all you like, I'm simply stronger than you.
If you think so. Cooler spread his arms. Come and get me. Frieza, blind to the odds, without his scouter, his belief that his power was unchallenged, with the exception of his father, in the entire universe. Unshakable, charged into the jaws of death. Can you feel that? Tien was staring into the distance as the brothers clashed on the other side of the planet. The warrior could sense their ki, but it was so huge, it was beyond his level of comprehension. However, since Goku and Raditz had been healed by the Namekian child Dende, they'd also passed beyond that level. He just hoped. If it came to it, the Saiyan brothers would be able to defeat whichever frost demon emerged the victor. Yeah, no kidding. It's some serious power. It's all they can do not to destroy the planet as they fight. Goku replied. I feel unbelievably powerful myself all of a sudden, since I was healed. But I honestly don't know if it'll be enough. Their group, consisting of Goku, Raditz, Gohan, Tien, Bulma, Zarbon, Nail, and Dende, was gathered in a loose circle near the wreckage of Frieza's spaceship.
Funny, even I can feel the battle this time.
Bulma, the only non-ki sensitive among them, noted.
The whole planet's shaking and I'm struggling not to fall down. So, is everyone healed?
Tien nodded. I was the last, but summon the dragon while those two are occupied. On Nail's command phrase, in the Namekian language, the 7 assembled Dragon Balls glowed with a brilliant yellow light, and the great dragon Porunga burst forth. It had a roughly humanoid upper body, and was much larger than Earth's dragon. Spikes sprouted from its back, and antenna hung from its brow. Whoa, now that's a dragon and a half, Goku muttered. Alright, Zarbon, you've been a great help, and I think 2 wishes will be plenty for what we need. So you can have the first wish. Zarbon's face lit up. You mean it? He stepped forward hesitantly. I guess I'm so used to the world of backstabbing and power grabbing. It almost feels strange to be trusted. I could get used to it. You have summoned me! Porunga bellowed, its words magically understandable to all present, no matter what their native language. Now speak your wishes, for my patience is not infinite. Oh, mighty Porunga, Dende supplied. Yes, right. Porunga, grant me freedom from my hideous transformation. I want to be more powerful as I am, without ever needing to become that creature in battle again. Zarbon gazed up at the dragon. Immortality? He'd rather live his life to the full and enjoy it. Nail translated his request into Namekian. Porunga's eyes pulsed red.
and the same light enveloped Zarbon, filling him with a feeling of sudden vitality.
Your wish has been granted. Now, what is your second wish?
I guess we should wish back everyone the Saiyans killed, Tien said. I'm afraid that won't work. Nail shook his head. Purunga can only restore one life per wish. Alright. Tien looked up at Purunga, and Nail continued to translate.
Dragon, please restore the being that is Kami and Piccolo to life. They're really two halves of one entity, so it's one life.
Again, the eyes glowed, and again, Purunga spoke.
Your wish has been granted.
Oh, I see, Goku smiled. Good thinking, Tien. Shenron can restore groups of people with one wish, so we can use Earth's Dragon Balls for the rest now Kami's alive. Great idea.
Speak your final wish, so excuse me. Speak your final wish, so that I may leave.
Purunga boomed.
Alright, keep your hair on.
Raditz pushed his way to the front of the group. How about if we wished everyone on this planet to Earth, including the remaining Nameks? There can't be more than 100 left alive, so there wouldn't be a problem with space. It'd be much easier to plan for the future if we don't have to worry about Frieza and Cooler having the battle to end all battles on our doorstep. The shaking ground was a constant reminder of the ever-present danger. Sounds good, Goku nodded. Go ahead.
Purunga! Purunga!
Raditz called up to the gargantuan floating figure.
I ask you to move everyone on planet Namek to the planet Earth, except Frieza and Cooler.
There was a brief pause, but just as the dragon's eyes lit up again, the light was snuffed out. A second later, the dragon vanished, and the Dragon Balls crashed to the ground, transformed into lifeless stones.
What happened?
Raditz looked around frantically.
What went wrong?
Well, it didn't work, I guess, Goku answered calmly.
I can see that, you buffoon! What I want to know is why!
Nail's face fell. I think I know. Guru, the Grand Elder of our people, he must have passed on. He was old, sick, and weak. It was only with the greatest reluctance I accepted his decision to send me to help you in the first place. The effects of the battle between Frieza and Cooler were too violent for him to withstand. Nail fell silent, and Dende sobbed quietly. Guru had been a father figure to practically the entire Namek race. And with this battle going on, we can't use one of the ships scattered around the planet, Raditz added. Can you imagine taking off in the middle of this? Let alone trying to leave the atmosphere. Bulma nodded in agreement. The physical effects are bad enough, but the amount of energy those two must be putting out would play hell with the electronic systems. It'd be impossible. I don't know. It can't be that hard, can it? Bulma scowled. Okay, you ever hear how it's hard to fly a plane through a hurricane? Well, imagine it's two hurricanes, each with enough force to rip a planet apart, trying to kill each other, and since you're in a space vessel, not an in-atmosphere plane, you're trying to avoid the slightest bit of damage to the vehicle, because any damage would mean you could expose everyone inside to the lethal vacuum of space. Oh, that is pretty difficult. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Goku did some push-ups to pass the time. But I feel stronger than ever right now. Whatever comes up, I'm sure we'll be fine. Kakarot, what is it about you? How do you just keep improving like this? Raditz wondered. You were stranded with no memory of your kind on an alien world, but rose to the top, becoming its greatest hero. You learned about the Saiyan race and needed to fight Vegeta, and increased your power level more than tenfold. Greater challenges appeared on Namek and you rose to meet them. And now, Frieza and his brother have shown their true power, and yet again you've broken all your barriers to match them. Maybe that's why Vegeta thinks you're the one. You have the ability to meet any challenge, face any enemy. I think I'm starting to believe. It's you, the Super Saiyan, the one who will avenge our lost race. He was roused from his internal monologue by something, or rather, a lack of something. Hey, the shaking stopped, and one of the huge power levels disappeared. Gohan looked over at the horizon where the battle had been taking place. Are they done? Goku nodded. One of them is dead. I can't tell which, both of their powers are so huge. He mentally prepared himself. The other's bound to come for the Dragon Balls. And for us. I'll fight him. Raditz, are you with me? Raditz shook his head.
I may have gotten a lot stronger, but if they're anywhere near your level, I just get in the way. You have to win, Kakarot. I hope it's Frieza. Then you can redeem the honor of the Saiyans. You still don't get it, do you? Goku's voice had taken on a serious quality it occasionally had, when he felt what he was talking about was important enough to stop joking around. I don't care about the honor of the Saiyans! What? Raditz blinked, trying to tell himself he'd really heard that. So why was his brother so determined? It doesn't matter which of them. Even if it was both, I had to fight. Their kind shouldn't have the kind of power they do. Goku's face was set in determination. They judge everyone and care about nobody. Just tap your scouter, and there's a whole living, breathing person reduced to a number. He gritted his teeth. Cooler's just the same as Frieza. He'd have killed the Saiyans just as easily. I'm sure he's wiped out plenty of species, warriors and innocents alike himself. How do you know? Tien asked. I mean, I assumed Cooler would be bad, but you've never met him. He was lured here by the promise of immortality, like it'll fix all his problems. He's a product of the same soulless society that created Frieza. He attacked without warning, shooting first and never stopping to ask questions. He's exactly like his brother, trust me. Frieza or Cooler, I'll fight them. And I will beat them, until there's no fight left in them. No more venom or hatred that makes people who could have been just like us casually wipe out billions of lives. It has to stop here. Frieza lay in the dirt, broken and bleeding. Cooler stood over him, resting one foot on a rock, wiping his brow, more a symbolic gesture of the effort mortally wounding his brother had taken, as his highly efficient fifth form did not in fact sweat. Well, I say we've learnt a few things today, he taunted. Cooler, help me. Frieza pressed one hand to a gash in his stomach to try and slow the blood loss, shakily reaching his other hand up towards Cooler. What's this? Help you? Cooler smiled behind his mask. I've just spent the last hour or so trying to kill you, so that would be a little counterproductive, you have to admit. Please, Frieza gasped. Mercy. Mercy? Cooler's eyes widened. Mercy. Oh, that's rich coming from you. Mercy indeed. How about no? Cooler reached down, and with a sharp twist of his arm, he tore Frieza's head from his shoulders. Enjoy sucking vacuum for the few hours it'll take your brain to shut down. Cooler called, tossing the defeated ruler's head into the atmosphere. Cooler was easily strong enough for it to break through the atmosphere, and Frieza's skin was tough enough to survive intact, as Cooler intended. Their race's ability to survive fatal injuries would allow him to drift alive for a while before slowly dying. Laughing to himself, Cooler incinerated the remains of Frieza's body, regressing to his more natural fourth form. Here he comes! Everyone, get behind me! Goku raised his guard. He squinted into the distance, seeing an approaching purple and white shape. Huh? I just realized. I don't know what Cooler looks like. Or Frieza at full power for that matter. The figure landed several dozen meters away, dusting itself off. I've never seen Frieza's true form either, Zarbon added. But that's one I recognize. It's Cooler. He's killed Frieza and now he's come to clean up. I hope this goes well. I finally got a new life free from my transformation, but I might not live to enjoy it. Cooler studied the group assembled before him. Zarbon, one of the few surviving Saiyans, a pair of Namekians, and a couple of assorted humanoids. Well, this is a merry little gathering. Why don't we start with proper introductions? I am Lord Cooler, and as of today, Supreme Ruler of the Galaxy. His face rose into a half-smile. How do you do? Don't worry about the others. My name is Son Goku. I'm a Saiyan from Earth. You want to wish to make yourself immortal, right? But of course. Another Saiyan. And what's this Earth? That on its own tells me all I need to know. It doesn't matter anyway. The Dragon Balls are gone. You'll never get your wish. Cooler's eyes widened. You lie! You're hiding them somewhere, so I'll just have to remove you and your friends from the picture. Then I'll be at leisure to search the planet for them. Goku shifted to a more defensive stance. Believe what you want, but make a move to hurt any of them and I will stop you. You mean you'll try? Goku smiled, then vanished. Goku frowned and disappeared too. Shockwaves rocked the whole area as they clashed, faster than the other senses could follow. Cooler appeared right in front of them, raising a hand to strike Raditz, but Goku jumped between them, blocking Cooler's punch, and they leapt off again. Goku jumped backwards, backflipping away, rebounding off a boulder and crashing into Cooler's stomach with both feet. Cooler slid back, not showing any outward sign of pain. He countered with his elbow, and Goku was sent spinning away, righting himself with a quick burst of ki. How do you have such speed? Cooler wondered aloud. Nobody outside my family has ever shown such talent for fighting. I'd have expected that blow to kill a lesser being like you. What? You gonna try and recruit me or something? No, actually. Cooler idly flicked his tail back and forth. You've openly fought against my family, and such an affront like that cannot be ignored. I do wish you hadn't, as your ability would have made you an excellent servant. Ah well, he ran at Goku. I suppose since you're making it difficult for me to get to the others, I'll just have to destroy you first. They battled back and forth, the fight moving over the ocean, and continuing suspended in midair above the water. You know, I think I preferred fighting Frieza, Goku said, blocking a quick jab from Cooler. He offered to fight me with only one hand. That's just like him, Cooler dodged Goku's kick. He always did like to play games. He used the opening Goku's attack had made to slip past the Saiyan's defenses and land a punch to Goku's shoulder. Goku ducked away, moving to the defensive and knocking away Cooler's next few attacks. Not bad, Cooler. He deliberately let Cooler's foot get under his guard, catching it before it made contact, and using the leverage to throw Cooler into the air. Goku pursued his opponent, vanishing and appearing in the air above Cooler as he shot upwards. Goku's eyes narrowed, throwing out an invisible burst of ki. Ha! The force knocked Cooler down into the water below, and Goku didn't waste a second, beginning to charge up his energy between his hands. Kamehameha! The blue energy beam shot down into the sea, vaporizing the water for a mile around instantly. The shockwave opened up fissures in the earth, running all the way back to where his friends were standing. And Tien had to pull Dende out of the way of one. Wow, this must be the battle to end all battles! The three-eyed fighter muttered. Nail nodded in agreement. Who'd have thought? The savior of our planet would turn out to be a Saiyan. The universe works in mysterious ways. Raditz was entirely focused on trying to follow the battle. If he concentrated hard, pushing his new powers to the limit, he could catch glimpses. He doubted the others could keep up, but they could doubtless feel the effects of the fight. It'd be hard to miss given the amount of damage the Namekian countryside was taking. Come on, Kakarot, you can't lose! The fate of the entire universe hangs on this. The Frost Demons have ruled for longer than anyone can remember. You have to prove they aren't invincible! Goku hung in the air, heaving for breath. The former sea was now a steaming crater, and the forest around it had been completely burned to the ground from the heat of his blast. But as he looked closer, he was equal parts surprised and dismayed. Cooler was picking himself up, scratched and burned, but having suffered no major injuries. Damn you, monkey! He yelled up at Goku, flying up to hover opposite the other warrior. Hey now, there's no need for name-calling, Goku replied. If we're fighting, you've got to expect to take some hits. Not from the likes of you. Cooler inclined his head. I suppose I didn't tell the entire truth before. I do sometimes enjoy a bit of a game, like my brother. For instance, hiding my true power from an ignorant little Saiyan! Wait, what? I thought about 5 or 10% of my power would be sufficient to break you. But you were a little tougher than I thought. There was a sudden flare of energy from Cooler's body. No drama. No extended screams or bursts of light. It was just there. So, what do you say to full power? Goku gulped. I think that sounds like an absolutely terrifying idea. Good. What's happening over there? Gohan was looking intently at the two distant figures who had resumed their battle. Nothing good. Tien shivered a little. Cooler's power just increased massively. I don't think Goku can win. No! He has to! Raditz's face filled with fear. He must defeat Cooler. He must be the Super Saiyan. I am sorry, Nail told him, but I think that possibility is becoming less likely every second. I don't care! Raditz ignited his aura, blue and white energy mixing and flaring up around him. I'm going to help him! He flexed his ki, and his armor top exploded off him, leaving his plain black vest underneath. Really, his body had become tough enough that the armor barely made a difference anymore. And I won't wear the symbol of their dominance anymore either. Don't do it, Ned. Don't do it, Nail warned. You'll die. We're dead anyway when Cooler finishes with Kakarot. Raditz took off. Stay and hide under a rock if you want. I'm no coward. God damn it. Tien flew off after him, and Nail followed. Hold on, Dad. Gohan flew up as well, leaving Dende, Bulma, and Zarbon behind. You're not going? Bulma asked Zarbon, who shook his head. They're all morons. Cooler won't be able to find us without a scouter. I say as soon as he's finished with them and the fighting stops, we take a ship and head out of here. I guess so. Bulma wasn't entirely comfortable with abandoning her friends. Dende, for his part, stared silently into the distance, hoping Nail and his new friends would be alright. Cooler landed another devastating blow and Goku cried out in pain. He lost his balance, falling down to the ground below. Cooler floated down, landing in front of him. Is that really all you've got, Primate? Cooler prepared to launch into another series of attacks, when Raditz rocketed him from the side, launching Cooler away. Raditz? Goku looked up. This looks familiar. Huh? You're defending your brother from an opponent who's beating him, even though they're both way out of your league. The battle with Piccolo flashed through Raditz's mind. I guess so. What a way to go. History repeating itself. Cooler stood up, faster than they could follow. Cooler stood up, and faster than they could follow was back, standing barely 3 feet away. Well, you've saved me some trouble, getting together over here so I can kill you all. Enough, Cooler! Raditz shone with power, glaring at his opponent and baring his teeth. You're kind. You've taken our freedom, our lives. But there is one thing you can never take from us. Our pride! You're going to fight me. Cooler raised an eyebrow. You'll die. There was nothing but hate in Raditz's eyes. I know. For a brief moment, Cooler felt fear. Raditz charged in. His fists and feet were crashing into Cooler's invulnerable body. The sheer momentum of his attack staggered the tyrant back, but he quickly righted himself, spinning and wrapping his tail around Raditz's neck. He smashed a fist into the Saiyan's ribs, then let go, letting the force of the blow send Raditz flying to the ground. Cooler looked up to see Nail, Tien, and Gohan flying at him. Oh, more of you. He dodged the initial charge, and with the wave of his hand, the force of his aura sent Nail flying. Gohan and Tien stood opposite him. This is insane! Tien tried to prepare himself mentally. I can only imagine how Gohan's dealing with it. Well, on the bright side, it seems Guru's the gift that keeps on giving. I seem to have gotten even more powered up while waiting for Cooler and watching the battle. I think I've reached maximum now. I could maybe take Vegeta without Kaioken now, but this guy, he's like a god. Tien gathered his energy, trying to achieve inner calm before attacking. Before Gohan rocketed forward, his small frame crashed into Cooler, hurling them both down into the ground and below. There was an earth-shaking series of shockwaves, before Gohan shot back up out of the earth, battered and bruised. Cooler followed, unhurt. Well, that was a nice little diversion. The child has talent. Tien looked around. Damn it! I'm the only one left! I gotta make this count, and go even further beyond what I thought were my limits! Hey, Cooler! Don't count us out just yet! Red energy burst into life around him, as he summoned up his inner strength. Oh, what's this? Some fight left after all. Cooler gestured his little, come and get me signal. Let's see it. Veins bulged on Tien's forehead and he exploded with power. Yeah! Kaioken times 20! Tien shot forward, punching Cooler in his face and immediately following up with a knee to the stomach, finishing by kicking the Frost Demon away with both feet. Yeah! He propelled himself down towards Cooler's plummeting form, but his energy vanished, appearing behind him. Nice try, Cooler said menacingly, taking hold of Tien's arm between two fingers and snapping it before throwing the fighter to the ground. You caught me by surprise. But really, even with that technique, you were barely stronger than the long-haired Saiyan, and still below the one in orange. And you can see how easily I took him out. Points for effort, though. Now. Cooler left Tien to lie on the ground, clutching his arm in agony. Ah, right where I left you. Floating over to Goku, Cooler grabbed him by the front of his shirt. Watch, monkey. Goku's eyes opened a little. You were fighting to protect your friends, if I remember correctly. He pointed a finger off into the distance. Well, as you can see by now, you can't. Nothing can save them from me. You couldn't help all these fighters who tried to attack me just now. His finger flashed, and a beam of energy shot off into the distance. You didn't save the traitor soldier Frieza I just killed. Another beam. Or the Namekian child. Damn you! Goku's eyes blazed. He tried to punch Cooler, who simply stepped to the side and dropped Goku, letting his limp body crash to the ground and landing on next to him. It seems cruel, but the universe has to know, to understand. Nobody crosses our family. We are the rulers of the universe. You don't have a say in the matter. Cooler! Raditz was on his feet, staggering towards Goku and Cooler. Leave him alone! Ah, still trying to save him. The hero riding to the rescue. Cooler shrugged. I've already given the you can't save them speech, so I hope this example will suffice. He casually waved his hand, and with a flash of red light, Goku ceased to be. He didn't explode. He wasn't incinerated, or got smashed into 1,000 pieces. Goku simply ripped him into his constituent atoms with the power of his mind, and scattered them into the wind. He was just gone. There. Now, do you understand? Don't be sad now. You lesser beings die all the time. Really, what difference does one more make? It begun. Something new came over Raditz. He felt anger before. It had been burning in his mind when he attacked Frieza and Cooler, always overriding his sense of self-preservation. But this was new. This anger drove everything else out, filling his head. He stared at the spot where Goku had been moments before. His shoulders shook as if his eternal rage was trying to escape his body. You heartless bastard! His entire body was shaking now, and he felt his anger swell up like a wave of heat inside his body. Words were hard to form, and his conscious mind began to slip under the all-consuming fire in his brain. The skies darkened, as if the physical world was coming to reflect his state of mind. A bolt of lightning struck the ground not 10 feet away from Raditz. Not that he noticed. He could think of nothing but Goku, in the casual, unthinking way Cooler had destroyed him. Lightning continued to strike, raining from the sky all around. As Raditz felt the inner heat pushing out of him, a bolt struck right next to him, barely missing. An inner light seemed to emanate from the enraged Saiyan, and Cooler frowned. What is this? What is he doing? Waves of silent energy started to flow out from Raditz's body, stirring up the waters around him. The rocky ground began to crumble, rocks breaking off and floating up into the air, levitating around Raditz. His head snapped up as if pulled by some unforeseen force, then sank back down to stare at the ground. He forced himself to speak coherently. I won't let you get away with this! So, I think anybody who's at all familiar with DBZ know what's coming. Anyway, this chapter was way longer than I anticipated, but I hadn't thought it would cover this much. I thought I'd leave it at Cooler powering up, and do this bit on Sunday. It just didn't seem as good a stopping point. So we have this. I actually have, as they say, the chills right now. An expression I used to not understand. As of watching the equivalent scene from DBZ to make sure I got it right. Equal parts scary and awesome. Goku, 5 million. Raditz, 3 million. Tien, 200,000. Kaioken times 20, bringing it up to 4 million. Gohan, question mark. Who knows? Frieza, 100 million. Frieza at full power, 120 million. Cooler, 80 million. Cooler 5th form, not just yet. Zarbon, wish fulfilled, 53,000. Nail, 42,000. By the way, in case you're wondering why Goku isn't stronger, at a certain point, strength like this plateaus out. A Saiyan can't just keep getting infinitely stronger by getting injured and recovering. If you go by math alone, using the bit in canon where Goku fights Frieza after recovering, going from 90,000 to 3 million, Goku would be at 15 million plus and Raditz at 4 million, but that didn't seem right. Oh, and anybody worrying about Nail fading into the background now he's become relatively weaker? Don't be too concerned. He has his part to play. Now to critique. I wonder if I might have written Zarbon as having run back to Frieza, groveling. I doubt he has the stones to openly oppose him in his second form. Then, of course, Frieza rejects him and kills him anyway, but maybe you still have use for the character. I think at this point, Frieza is past forgiving him, and Zarbon knows that. Perhaps this should have happened, though. Well, it's too late now. I would actually like to see Zarbon become a Z-Fighter. Is there any chance of that happening? Similar Q. I don't know about everyone else, but making Zarbon one of the good guys and joining the Z-Fighters would be a very interesting twist to the story. There's just so much you can do with it. Well, he is dead, but that didn't stop Tien. And quite a few other people seem to want Zarbon to be a hero, or at least on the side of heroes. I might have to do that to appease the readers. As always, I'll only do it if I think I can write it convincingly. You know, I'm surprised that Frieza went for Yamcha and not Zarbon due to the whole traitor issue. Seems pretty ironic that Zarbon freaked out about Frieza's wrath, and yet he and Nail, the only ones who survived the battle unscathed. Frieza was using Yamcha as an example. He was no doubt planning something especially horrible some especially horrible fate for Zarbon when Cooler came along. This chapter felt a bit like the Z-Fighters' epic fail, but that's just my opinion. I'm not quite sure, though, why Frieza came out of his day so suddenly when Gohan attacked. I mean, it's not every day that a 5-year-old matches a 7-foot-tall ruler of the universe in terms of power. Something that sort of confuses you in battle. I think Frieza was more focused on finishing the battle so he could be ready for Cooler. Read all the dialogue from Frieza's second form in his Team 4-star voice, and I thought it was spot on. Not surprised you killed Yamcha off so quickly. He wouldn't have been much help here. Though I hope that chances by the time the androids show up. I'm hoping that changes by the time the androids show up. Also, I hope Raditz is able to help more the next time the heroes clash with Frieza. I've got high hopes for him. Since you said that, I went back and read the chapter again, and I think you're right. Thanks for that. Anyway, while I can't say for sure, just remember in canon, the humans become less useful over time, not more. As for Raditz, you're not the only one with high hopes. Just a quick note about Vegeta. I understand the power level multiplier, but I meant more of like, Vegeta shouldn't be able to train at 100 times gravity right away. Like Goku, he'd have had to work his way up. If Vegeta landed on 100 times gravity planet with the power level of 25,000, he'd probably be crushed instantly. But I'm over it. I just wanted to make sure you understood where I was coming from. I do understand, and it's perfectly reasonable thought. My reasoning was canon Goku, and maybe 10 to 15,000 at the start of his training, definitely less than 24,000 anyway, managed to master it in just 6 days,
While Vegeta would have difficulty in not being able to work his way up, he also had several weeks and a higher initial power level. 100 times gravity is 10 times what he used to. I imagine his initial training would be like Goku first arriving on King Kai's planet. This isn't to say you were wrong, just why I did what I did. In regards to Salza, the info about him being a genius, training in high gravity, and speaking thousands of languages is all from the same magazine you got your scans from. So I guess it must be true? Although honestly, I still never go by the scan since some don't make much sense. Nappa's usually seen as higher than 4,000. Vegeta after his first fight with Zarbon should probably be higher than 30,000 since Zarbon was also 30,000 but was easily defeated. And still, even with Salza at around 180,000-ish, I still feel he shouldn't have been killed so easily. Vegeta was at 200,000, but was fresh from a fight with Tien, not to mention getting hit by a Tri-Beam in a surprise attack, so he should have been at least weakened a bit. Also, is it really that absurd to think that Cooler's henchmen could be stronger than Frieza's first form? Goku, Raditz, and Vegeta all increased dramatically over pretty much a week or two, Goku becoming as strong as Frieza. So why couldn't elite henchmen achieve that high of a power level after fighting for years? Especially since they're with Cooler, who knows how powerful, especially since they're with Cooler, who knows how powerful Frieza is. He'd probably want his henchmen to be as strong as possible. Cooler actually helps out his teammates, unlike Frieza. That being said, I was really disappointed with that chapter, but it's all good. The next chapter was great. Keep up the good work, man. I didn't know that the magazine also said that. I only saw the scans of the little bit showing their PLs. And anyway, I even changed those a bit. They even changed those a bit, non-character characters and all that. And because of that, Salza was closer to 150,000 in my story, so Vegeta could kill him. Really, I just needed Vegeta to beat somebody. Otherwise, he could say he's grown incredibly powerful all he likes. But unless we've seen his new power in action, Goku beating him isn't going to have as much impact. However, because of the same reasons I allowed myself to come up with my own PLs for the Armored Squadron, I wouldn't mind if anybody else put them at a much higher in their own stories. It's whatever suits the plot and preservation of drama, really. If the Armored Squadron had come in later, while Frieza and Cooler were fighting each other, for instance, they probably would have been closer to Frieza's first form, with Salza perhaps at nearly 1 million. To be fair, up until the heroes arrived, the Armored Squadron were about the strongest non-Frost demons in the galaxy, even at power levels of only 150,000. The next highest would be Captain Ginyu, say, and then lower power elites like Vegeta, the Ginyu Force, Zarbon, Dodoria, and Kui. Oh, that was just sad for our heroes against Frieza. He completely destroyed all of them at the same time in only his second form. I better hope that Goku and Raditz get serious power boost from being beaten like that. Wonder if Cooler can transform into the 5th form yet. Because if he can, Frieza doesn't stand a chance against him. Anyway, good chapter, and for some reason I have a feeling that Vegeta will be coming back, but, you know, I'm an optimist. Yes, they did. Yes, he can. And quite possibly. Please keep Zarbon as a good guy. I like how he becomes stronger by transforming into a huge monster. I think if he had the chance to be a hero, he would have turned on Frieza because he probably only worked for him out of fear. Also, I think he could be a good guy by, instead of wanting to wish for something evil like immortality, he just wants to be able to have his full power in his regular form instead of his ugly form. Spot on about Zarbon's wish. As for the first part, I wouldn't call him a hero at this point, but he's certainly no longer a fully fledged villain. He won't fight the heroes simply because they're against Frieza. Right now, he really doesn't have a reason to go against anybody. He just wants to escape with his life. Oh wait, he died. Anyway, with the customary P's, L's, Q's, and A's dealt with, see you guys on Sunday. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you are too. And that's it for chapters 16 and 17. Tune in next Saturday. We conclude the Namek Saga. And it'll be the legendary not the legendary Super Saiyan, my bad. It'll be the Super Saiyan versus the Tyrant Cooler. Who will win? Who will die? Find out next time on Breakthrough the Limit. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, tell a friend, and follow me on Twitter. So that way you can be kept in the loop about any updates. I will see you all next week. Stay safe.